bless. This is Asaya Ben Yisrael, the iconoclast. And in this video, I'm going to be going over the beginning, Genesis chapter 1. It's very important that we get an accurate narrative from the very beginning. I know that a lot of people, a lot of pastors, different people operate and view the creation story from an incorrect narrative, one that has been foisted onto them by their enemies to keep them in the dark. It's very important that the truth of creation is revealed and is told, not the lies that are promulgated by various religious institutions. When one begins to search for knowledge, they should start at the beginning. You must get to the root. It's strange that this book, the scriptures, the Book of Remembrance, is one of the only books on the face of the earth that people buy and they don't read it from left to right or from the beginning to the end as they read other books. They jump around in it, picking and choosing, like it's buffet style, making up their own doctrines, walking on in the imaginations of their own hearts, especially Israelites. So in this video, I hope Yah sheds a bit of illumination into the minds of the people that are confused and deluded. Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. A lot of people are even lost and caught up and stuck with that one sentence. If you were to go to the Strong's exhaustive concordance and you were to bring up Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, and you were to look up the word God in the Strong's exhaustive concordance, you would see that it says Elohim, right? So even that is deception. Elohim is pluralized. There are no Elohim. There is only El. There is no plurality or duality or trinity or any of that nonsense. There's only El, which means the strong one, the mighty one, not the mighty two or three. Okay? Decision. Deuteronomy 6, verse 4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. Okay? Hear, O Israel, Yah, our strong one, is one Yah. Not two, not three, not a multiplicity. Yeshaya 44, verse 24. Thus saith Yah, thy Redeemer, and he that formed thee from the womb. I am Yah, that maketh all things, that stretcheth forth the heavens alone. Do you understand what the word alone means? That spreadeth abroad the earth by myself. So where is the Trinity? Where is Father and Son? Father and Son is not alone, and Father and Son is not by myself. So there is no idol here present with Yah when he's creating. There's no idol, but you want to stick him in there someplace, huh? Why? Because you've been lied to your whole life? Because your adversaries, the Gentiles, the Goyim, these Caucasians walking around out here, the Edomites, because they put you in chains and whipped and beat you Huh? And gave you Christianity and Islam, Judaism, because your parents, they've done it their whole life. You've done it your whole life. And so now you think that makes it right? It doesn't. You're going to have to abandon the nonsense and the lies because nuclear annihilation is at the door. This is not a game. Genesis chapter 1, verse 2. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the spirit of the strong one moved upon the face of the waters. The spirit of the strong one, not a separate spirit from the strong one. Don't you have a spirit? Isn't it a part of you? Is it separate from you? This is not talking about some Holy Ghost or whatever nonsense they got going on over there in the New Testament about a Trinity. This is the breath of Yah moving upon the waters. Genesis 1, verse 3. And the strong one said, let there be light. And there was light. Now, you should have asked yourself this question when you read this verse. How can you have light with no sun, no moon, and no stars? How can you have light with no sun, no moon, and no stars? Okay, what does this say here in Proverbs? It says, for the commandment is a lamp, and the law is light. The law is light. The commandment is a lamp. You hold it out in front of you. And inside of the lamp, there is the law, which is the light. That is the first light in Genesis chapter 1, verse 3. When there was no sun, when there was no moon, when there was no stars, the law was created first. Yeshaya 8, verse 20. To the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. To the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, Yah's word, it is because there is no light in them. Again, the law is the first light in Genesis chapter 1, verse 3. Genesis chapter 1, verse 4. And Yah, the strong one, saw the light, that it was good. And Yah divided the light from the darkness. The law from the lawless. The wise from the foolish. The living from the dead. He divided the light from the darkness. And the strong one, El, called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the even and the morning were the first day. 1 24-hour period. Evening and morning. The light is created. The law is created and separated from the darkness. And the strong one said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. That's the dome. The dome that's above us, that you can see the blue waters through. The earth is not a globe spinning through space on its own axis while revolving around the sun. Absolute nonsense, more lies and deception. Psalms 104, verse 5. Who laid the foundations of the earth that it should not be removed forever? How can it have foundations if it's floating through space, rotating on its own axis, and you feel none of it? So who's right? The scientists that tell you that? Are the scientists correct when they tell you this nonsense? This mathematical babble, overactive minds? Are they right, or is Yah right? Is the creator of the heavens and the earth, is he right? Or you put your trust in these New Age sorcerers, right? New Age priests, high priests to the religion of scientism. Who's right? Genesis chapter 1, verse 7. And the strong one made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. During the flood of Noah, where do you think the water came from? It says the windows of heaven were open. The firmament was open and the water came gushing in. That's what took place. That doesn't happen on a globe. You have to wake up, Israel. You've been asleep in the dust for 2,000 years plus, being bitten by serpents and cockatrices that can't be charmed, being lied to over and over again. If you ever watched the movie The Matrix, when Neo wakes up, he has to pull this cord that's stuck in the back of his head out. And what does it look like? A serpent. That's symbolical of what happened to us, Israel. They've been injecting poison into our minds. You have to wake up. Genesis chapter 1, verse 8. And the strong one called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day, another 24-hour period. Genesis chapter 1, verse 9. And the strong one said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. That's pretty self-explanatory. The waters covered the whole earth, just like in the days of Noah. And Yah said that they should be gathered together into one place, and then the earth appeared. And the strong one called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he seas. And the strong one saw that it was good. So earth has a name. The dry land is called earth, right? We know this much. And the gathering together of the waters called he seas. And Yah saw that it was good. Genesis chapter 1, verse 11. And the strong one said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth. And it was so. So you get your creation of vegetation, fruits, herbs. Genesis chapter 1, verse 12. And the earth brought forth grass, and herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself, after his kind, and the strong one saw that it was good. So again, you get your creation of greenery, grass, vegetation, plants and such, wheat, potatoes, different vegetables. This is what you see happening here. Genesis chapter 1, verse 13. And the evening and the morning were the third day. Another 24-hour period. Genesis chapter 1, verse 14. And the strong one said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven, to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years. This is where you get the creation of the physical lights that we see in the sky, the sun, the moon, the stars. They are in the firmament above us, and they rotate around the earth, not the other way around. The earth itself doesn't move. When you're in a car, you feel it moving, don't you? When you're on a plane or train, bus, any means of transportation, you feel movement, don't you? But you were deceived into thinking that the earth is a ball, meaning that there are people standing upside down right now on the other side of the world. You believe that nonsense? Wake up, Israel. Snap out of it. The heat is being increased in this daughter of Babylon. They're coming down on us. They don't want us to return home to our rightful position. They don't want us to awake out of the dust, like it says in Daniel. They don't want righteousness in the earth. They don't want Yah. And that's a major problem, because this is Yah's earth. We're all servants. Everyone was created to serve. That's your position. But instead of being good servants, people have begun to serve themselves. Just look all around you. All you got to do is turn on the television or go on Instagram and Facebook, and just to see how self-serving everyone is. They're idolaters. They're worshiping a ton of idols. The main one being that Christ idol, that concoction. Nonsensical. Nonsense. Rubbish. Garbage. Lies. The prime sin of Israel was idolatry. But I digress. Genesis chapter 1, verse 15. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven, to give light upon the earth. And it was so. See, everything obeys Yah when he speaks. It's just mankind has the ability to choose whether to obey or not. That is mankind's uniqueness in creation. But everything must obey Yah. Genesis chapter 1, verse 16. And the strong one made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also, the sun, the greater light, the moon, the lesser light that gets its reflection from the sun, and the stars that get their reflection from the sun. Think about a diamond. The most minimalist amount of flaws. And you could put it in a pitch black gymnasium and you hit it with just a bit of light, and it brings that diamond to life. It sparkles, it glows, it shines. That's what the sun is. See, you've been lied to about the very nature of the matrix in which you reside. This reality, Yah's creation. But in order to break the curse, you have to accept the truth. You have to accept the law. You have to accept the light. Genesis chapter 1, verse 17. And the strong one set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. The strong one set them in the firmament. In the firmament. Okay? He didn't set the earth in space and started spinning and, sent it off. Come on now. That's not the way things work.
Wake up, Israel.
Now, Genesis chapter 1, verse 18. And to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And the strong one saw that it was good. So that's their purpose. The sun rules over the day. Isn't that the way it is now? And has always been? And will always be? And the moon rules over the night. And they both divide the light from the darkness. Okay? It's very simplistic. But you got to go to Yah for the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. These pastors that are fleecing the sheep, these wolves in sheep's clothing that are liars, all of them, there's not one single one that's telling the truth. They telling you about some Christ in the New Testament, they're lying. They're causing you to sin, abomination, idolatry. What does it say here in Yeshaya 55 verse 1? It says, Ho, everyone that thirsteth, come ye to the waters, and he that hath no money. So this thing is free. Come ye, buy and eat. Yes, come buy wine, which is doctrine, and milk, without money and without price. So now if you go to church and they're collecting money from you, does that make any sense? This knowledge, wisdom, and understanding is free. The only requirement is that you go to Yah. Go to your Creator. The fear of Yah is the beginning of wisdom. But fools despise, right? Genesis chapter 1, verse 19. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day. Again, just another 24-hour period. Genesis chapter 1, verse 20. And the strong one said, Let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. So, Yah says, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that had life, and fowls that fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. Birds, creatures, animals are being created here on the fifth day. It gets more descriptive. And the strong one created great whales and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind. And Yah, the strong one, saw that it was good. So there's whales, every living creature that you see came out of the waters. Genesis chapter 1, verse 22. And the strong one blessed them, saying, Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters and the seas, and let the fowl multiply in the earth. So Yah pronounced a blessing on the newly created creatures. And what was their blessing? Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let fowl multiply in the earth. So multiplicity, being fruitful, is the blessing carried on the creatures created by Yah. Genesis chapter 1, verse 23. And the evening and the morning were the fifth day. Again, a 24-hour period. Now, I just want to specify this. I just want to make this detail. The whales, it was whales and birds that were created, and all the fish in the sea. All the creatures in the ocean and all the creatures that fly in the air were created on the fifth day. Just for clarity's sake. Genesis chapter 1, verse 24. And the strong one said, let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping thing, and the beast of the earth after his kind, and it was so. So there you have the creation of the land-dwelling creatures. Reptiles, mammals, bears, lions, tigers, and such. And they came out of the earth. Genesis chapter 1, verse 25. And the strong one made the beast of the earth after his kind, and the cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And the strong one saw that it was good. So you see here the creation of the beast of the earth, the cattle, and the creeping things, bugs, stuff like that, insects, snails, various things like that. Now, this is the verse that confounds all idolaters. This is the verse where everyone stumbles and falls because they've been fed a narrative of some type of multiplicity and trinity and some type of, plurality. This is where they stumble and fall and are turned backwards from a lack of understanding, lack of knowledge, because they're in idolatry. They haven't sought their creator. They've just accepted the version, the idol that they were given. So if it's Yah's will, then let this illumination serve to remove this stumbling block from out of your way. Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. And the strong one said, let us make man in our image. You see that right there? You see that right there? Let us make man in our image. Now, because they've been programmed from birth, the Christian's mind will go to their idol because of this word us. Their mind will automatically revert to darkness because it says us. Well, let's see if we can look beyond the veil and get to the bottom of this. This word us, that Christian idolaters, even neo-Christian idolaters, camp members, people who go to church, stumble and fall at. We're going to go to every other place where it says us. And we're going to see if there's a son or there is a Christ, a Yeshua. We're going to see if there's a Christ there. We're going to see if he's present when it says us, since the idolaters want to insert us in Genesis chapter 1, or insert him as us in Genesis chapter 1. Genesis chapter 11, verse 7. Go to, this is what Yah's saying, go to, let us, here's that word again, go down and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. Do you see a son here? A mention of a son? You just see us. So you just need to figure out who the us is. That's what we need to figure out. Who is the us? Because I'm telling you right now, it ain't no son. So let's research into this. Let's dig a little bit deeper into this and see what we can find. That's two instances of the usage of us, but there's no mention of a son. So we're looking for the identity of the us. Here's another clue. First Kings, it's really governors. First governors, because the king is Yah. We're all servants. We just have different roles, different positions. This is a governor, not a king. Israel doesn't have any king except for Yah. First Governors 22, verse 19. And he said, hear thou therefore the word of Yah. I saw Yah sitting on his throne, and all the host of heaven standing by him on his right hand and on his left hand. That sounds like an us. All the host of heaven standing on his right hand and on his left hand. That sounds like an us, but I don't hear any mention of a son. You hear any mention of a son, a Christ? I don't hear it. It's not there. Okay, let's explore further. Yeshaya chapter 6, verse 1. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw also Yah sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. So Yeshaya is having a vision of Yah in heaven. Now let's see if there is a son there and if there is an us there. Above it stood the seraphims. Each one had 6 wings. With twain he covered his face, and with twain he covered his feet, and with twain he did fly. So there are the seraphim. They have 6 wings, right? They fly with 2. They cover their face with 2, and they cover their feet with the other 2. So we don't even know what they look like facially, but we know that they are in heaven along with Yah, the creator. Yeshaya chapter 6, verse 3. And one cried to another and said, holy, holy, holy is Yah of hosts, he who creates hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. And the posts of the door moved at the voice of him that cried, and the house was filled with smoke. Do you hear anything about a son? Do you hear anything about a Christ? Keep that question in mind. Do you hear anything about a Christ or a son? Yeshaya chapter 6, verse 5. Then said I, woe is me, for I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips. For mine eyes has seen the King, Yah of hosts. Yah's there, the seraphim are there. No son though. Yeshaya chapter 6, verse 6. Then flew one of the seraphims unto me, having a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with the tongs from off the altar. So the seraphims fly over to Yeshaya because he says he has unclean lips. He dwells in the midst of a people of unclean lips. And they had a live coal in his hand. He had a live coal in his hand. which he had taken with the thongs from off the altar. It tells you that the seraphim are males. That's one thing that we can identify, right? Then flew one of the seraphims unto me, having a live coal in his hand, which he had taken from with the tongs from off the altar. Yeshaya chapter 6, verse 7, and he laid it upon my mouth and said, Lo, this had touched thy lips, and thine iniquity is taken away, and thy sin purged. So Yeshaya gets his iniquity and sin purged. Now pay very close attention here. This word that confounds everyone. Also I heard the voice of Yah saying, Whom shall I send, and who will go for us? The seraphim are there. We know there's cherubim. We know there are angels. That's us. There's no mention of a son. Again, also I heard the voice of Yah saying, Whom shall I send, and who will go for us? Then Yeshaya said, Here am I, send me. But every time that the word us is used, there is no son present. It's only the heavenly hosts. This is what people can't or refuse to understand. It's like they're in heat. They have to serve their idol, and they don't know that it's going to end badly for all of those. Yah is a jealous, strong one. He's not going to give his praise to graven images, and he's not going to give his glory to another. He made the heavens and the earth by himself and created everything upon it. It's not difficult to understand. Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. And the strong one said, Let us, the heavenly hosts, make man in our image after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. When angels appear, they appear in the form of men all throughout the book. Men look like angels. Angels look like men. Angels don't have wings and fly like birds. They're a cherubim. They're a seraphim. Those are the ones that we know about. Those are the ones that the book mentions. Those are what Yah has revealed. There's nothing about a son. It has nothing to do with a son. I've said it before. Yah has many sons and daughters. So the strong one created man in his own image. Who created man? The strong one. Not the angels. No one else. So the strong one created man in his own image. In the image of the strong one created he him. Male and female created he them. That's the creation of the human race. That's the creation of mankind. All the various colors. It's not just the creation of two people. Did he create 2 lions and 2 giraffes and 2 birds and 2 whales? This is the creation of mankind. There is no Adam and Eve yet. Again, this is the narrative that they've hooked up with that serpent, that tentacle in your head. They've plugged in to your head and fed you these lies, this false narrative. It's like if I say to a group of people, let's go get some pizza. And then we all get in the car. I drive down there. I walk into the pizza store, order the pizza, pay for the pizza, bring the pizza back out, and drive back to the house. I got the pizza. I did all the work. They were just some observers and company. But Yah did all the creating. There's no other mysterious, hidden creator. That's Yah's title. He who creates. Nothing and no one else can create. Because then you would be Yah. Genesis chapter 1, verse 28. And the strong one blessed them. And the strong one said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the fowl of the air and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. So that's the blessing that he gave to all the people that he had just finished creating. Genesis chapter 1, verse 29. And the strong one said, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed, to you it shall be for meat. Genesis chapter 1, verse 30. And to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat. And it was so. Now, people use this to try and say that there's some kind of like veganism or some nonsense like that. No one's supposed to be a vegan. Okay? There are things that you can't get from being a vegan. The proteins and the what would you call it now? The nutrients. You can't get those from just being a vegan. That's why Yah gave us a menu. Not a diet, a menu. If anything, they should have called it a live it. But they call it a diet. Yah gave us a menu. And it ain't veganism or vegetarianism or whatever it is that people are doing nowadays that they think is doing something, but really in the end they wind up with cancer or some other disease anyway. So, what was the point? It was an exercise in futility. People need to eat what Yah said you're supposed to eat. Your body's a machine. You wouldn't put bad fuel in your car. So why would you put bad fuel inside of your body? That makes absolutely no sense. Genesis chapter 1, verse 31. And the strong one saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day. Just venture over one more verse. This is an important verse just to tie this together. Genesis chapter 2, verse 1. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished. And what does it say? All the host of them. The people that would inhabit the earth are considered to be the hosts. That tells you that it wasn't only two people created. Now, come on, get this nonsense out of your mind. Two people, or the creation of only two people, leads to incest, rather. Okay? That would not be right. And Yah is the most upright, the most high. It wouldn't be right to just make two people and make their kids sleep with one another. That's not right. So if that's what you think, you have to get that out of your mind as well. Adam and Eve weren't even around yet. We don't even know how long it was before Adam and Eve were born. Those are the other things that we got to cover. Dispel these myths and misperceptions and misconceptions of people being lied to. You have to seek your creator, Yah. Of host is his name. Because we are in trouble. We are in grave danger. I hope that this was enlightening and informative. This has been Asaya Ben Yisrael, the Iconoclast. Peace and Yah bless.